In 2000, Act 228 made medical cannabis legal in Hawaii. Today, medical cannabis patients and their caregivers are still prosecuted by the state of Hawaii.
The chemists press the pills while the hippies in the hills plant the next generation, grow the next strain.
We are the hiccup in the system. We're not going to stand silent. We're going to fix this, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make these guys stop picking on medical cannabis users.
We've got those hippies in the hills and them doctors scripting pills down in the valley below. Grab your horse and your vaporizer. Come on, let's go.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter now before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
State your name.
My name is Russel Ruderman.
Yes, sir. Okay, thanks for coming down, Mr. Ruderman. Could you state your position, please?
I'm State Senator for the districts of Puna and Karu.
Thank you. And are you here in official capacity?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. And did you ever visit the Alternative Pain Management Collective?
I did.
Can you tell us what you observed at the collective?
Sure, I visited after a request to come see what they were doing and to discuss some potential legislation. And I did not know anyone at the collective, to my knowledge, before I visited. What I observed was a group of people who were surprisingly to me serious and
Your Honor, at this time, the state objects to the narrative response.
Okay. So, Mr. Ruggles, could you ask questions of the witness so that
Okay, and what did you observe at the collective?
thank you. I observed a group of people who were very, very serious about the reasons that they were meeting. They were concerned about legislation that could help their legal status and other ways that they could ensure access to medicine. I observed a group of people that were surprisingly serious. It was not in any way a party or a potluck or a fun thing. It was people who had serious illnesses being very serious about trying to get access to medicine.
Thank you, sir. And were there dispensaries open at this time on the Big Island?
No,
And was there any other legal way for patients to acquire medicine at this time?
Objection caused by for a legal conclusion.
so state.
Well, was there any other legal way for patients to acquire that you were aware of as a state senator?
my understanding was you had to grow it yourself or be part of a caregiver relationship with another cannabis licensee. That's my understanding. That's the only way was to obtain it. So if you were not physically able to grow it, there was no legal access to it.
Okay, thank you. And with your knowledge as a lawmaker for the state of Hawaii, what was your opinion of the medical cannabis law in 2015?
Objection. One is to relevance, and the other one is to its offering a legal conclusion.
So state.
Okay, and what have you told your constituents when they've asked you about Hawaii's medical cannabis program?
Objection calls for hearsay as to what the statement made out of court by this a representative or state senator to his constituents.
It's not offered for the truth of the matter, Your Honor. It's offered for his state of mind. My state of mind.
His state of mind is not an issue in this case.
So state.
Stay. Would you tell your constituents to be cautious?
Yes.
Objection and relevance to what he tells his constituents as to this case.
So state.
Well, in your experience, what have you observed about medical cannabis patients trying to be legal in the state of Hawaii?
I
objection as to relevance, and there's also ambiguous as to time frame.
How do you know that cannabis helps chronic pain?
I've had an experience in my capacity as state senator that showed it to me very clearly. I'd love to convey that if I would be allowed to do so. What I did was I was contacted as a state senator by one of my constituents who asked me for help finding access to medicine. He had a license and asked me to come meet with him. I met with him. He was a veteran with chronic pain. He showed me his medical license. And then he pulled out of his other pocket 2 opioid-based medicines. One was Vicodin, I can't remember, I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous. They were 2 prescription brand name medicines that we're all familiar with the names. I'm afraid to get them wrong. He said, this is what I take when I can't find medical cannabis. I hate this
Objection
stuff.
to the narrative response.
And that made clear to me the reality of, I'm sorry.
So overruled at this point.
You may continue, Mr. Ruddle.
Seeing this man who was very earnest, desperately trying not to take his opioid pain medicines, made it very clear to me how strongly medical cannabis can help people with chronic pain. It was something I was unaware of to that extent before that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Mr. Ruggles.
Thank you. Senator Ruderman, and I don't intend to embarrass you, but did you send an email to my boss on October 22nd?
I may have. Is your boss? I'm not sure. I sent an email to someone I know. I don't know what his relationship is with you.
Okay, did you know, I'm talking about Mitch Roth.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. And if I may show it to Defense Counsel, the State's Exhibit 311. May I approach the witness for State's Exhibit 311 for identification? Senator Ruderman, I'm going to hand you a certificate mark for State's Exhibit 311 for identification and ask that you examine it.
Okay.
And after you finish your examination, if you look good.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So you recognize State's Exhibit 311?
I do.
Okay. That was an email sent by you
Yes, it was.
to Mr. Roth.
That's correct.
And did you know that Mr. Roth was also subpoenaed as a witness in this
No,
case?
I did not.
Okay. So you didn't realize that communications between witnesses after a trial has started is usually not appropriate, yes?
I realize it's not appropriate. I did not know he was a witness or your boss.
Okay. And you basically said, I feel so strongly about this. You said, I'm trying to understand why Mike Ruggles is facing jail time.
I can read that also. I read it also. That's what I said. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And is Damervilli working at your request?
I thought I spelled your name correctly, and yes, I did ask that question.
But we've had discussions and political discussions on Facebook before, yes?
If we have, I don't recall them. I'm sorry.
You remember when the legislature was trying to persuade voters to impose a special tax just for funding education?
I don't remember a situation that you're describing. I'm sorry.
Okay. And you were in support of that measure, is that right?
I can't say I was in support of a measure I don't remember. So, I mean, yes, there may have been such a bill. I'm not bringing it to my memory right now and understanding what you're asking me.
Okay, well, maybe I'll back it up. There was a proposal put out for a constitutional amendment to provide a funding source specifically for education. Now do you remember?
Yes,
Okay, and you were a supporter.
yes.
And we had a conversation on Facebook because I told you that, in my opinion, if we had more investigators over at the tax department to cut down on tax crimes, we wouldn't need a separate bill. You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay.
I would find that irrelevant to the discussion.
And this, isn't it true that you said you feel so strongly about this, that is, the possibility that Mr. Ruggles may be facing jail time? I feel so strongly about this, Mitch. If Mike goes to jail, I will be screaming about it at every opportunity and more.
Yes, and I will be.
Okay, and what's the more?
I don't.
You have,
I find,
as a state senator, you have input as to state funding for various organizations, is that right?
you might say that.
Is that an inference to that there may be some adverse consequences to the funding of the law enforcement and prosecuting attorneys?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. Now, with respect to your visit to APM, when did you visit?
I believe it was in 2015.
Was it 2015? Was it before September 2015, or was it after?
Well, I couldn't tell you the exact date. It was during the period of time when the collective was operating.
No further questions for this witness. Thank you.
And you return, Mr. Ruggles.
No further questions. Mr. Ruderman, thank you for your time.
You take your morphine and Demerol. Don't forget your oxycodone. You can travel, never leave home. I've got those hippies in the hills and them doctors scripting pills down in the valley below. Grab your horse and your flask and your brave riser. Come on, let's go. I've got those hippies in the hills and them doctors scripting pills down in the valley below. Grab your horse and your flask and your brave riser. Come on, let's go. Hippies in the hills.
All right.
All right, are we ready for the song?